In this video, we will be talking about themes that may be disturbing to some viewers. I will be using abbreviations to describe certain situations, example SA or CP, but still watch at your own discretion. If you would like to support the creator in making this content in the event that it cannot be monetized, consider joining my channel and becoming a member. As we get to this video, keep in mind that this story is still currently unfolding as Josh Duggar is as of right now out on bail. Today we are going to be talking about Josh Duggar and the situation that we all probably know by now that has been going on for far too long. There's so many things that I wanted to talk about that if you guys enjoy this and you want to hear more, definitely let me know, because I can do an entirely separate part that's just about the Duggar family in general and their incredibly bizarre beliefs, and we can go deeper into that. But today we're going to focus heavily on Josh Duggar and what has occurred with him within the family and how they tried to cover up this whole situation. I actually live in the area that they live in. I have seen a lot of the Duggar children out in public. A lot of the people that I know have actually ran into them. They're very known around here. I used to live in apartments that had it was like a church type building, but it was really small, and all the Duggar boys would always go there. It was literally right down the road from my apartment. We would see them outside, and they always had like the vans out there that they would drive. I don't know exactly what that building is. We always called it a church, but the strange thing about it is that none of the girls were ever there. Like every time we would see it, it was always just the boys, which to me is part of the sexism in their religion. They would separate them, so I don't know what they were teaching the boys in this little church area, but I thought that was really interesting because I kind of have some insight that I feel like most people probably don't have, because I do live in the area and I have seen several of the children. The last ones I saw was Jessa, Ben, and Spurgeon in Walmart. By the way, their hair is just as beautiful in person. But I just thought that'd be an interesting thing to make note of, the fact that we've seen that, because I don't think that was ever seen in the show, how they would have the boys go off into this, I don't know, it was just this little building. It wasn't very big, and it was just so bizarre to me, because you would drive by and you just see like a bunch of boys and men out there all in blue jeans and tucked in button-up shirts. So I don't know what they use that for. Maybe they use that to teach them how not to be incestuous and to do all of the things that I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm going to attempt to make this ad friendly, but there's still a chance that YouTube will remove ads. I'm going to try and get away with using abbreviations like SA and CP. So I'm going to go into my office and get on my computer, and we're going to go ahead and get into this because I have a feeling this video is going to be a long one, so let's go ahead and do it. 19 Kids and Counting used to be 17 Kids and Counting, and before that they actually had a special that came on TLC that was called 14 Kids and Counting. Right here we have the very first time that I believe that the Duggars was ever on TV, and it was on this show that TLC aired called 14 Children and Pregnant Again. This, to my knowledge, is the first time that the Duggars were ever seen on TV, and this was obviously a very bizarre situation for most people hearing about it, because they had so many children, and not only did they have as many children as they did, but all of their names start with J.
And I'm Jim Bob, this is my wife Michelle.
Mom cannot be everywhere at all times, and so my older children help to take care of the younger children.
In 14 Children and Pregnant Again, we learn the bizarre parenting styles of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, one of which being what they describe as the buddy system, where every Duggar child has at least one buddy. This is a cooperative arrangement where each paired child assumes the responsibility of essentially taking care of each other. The strange thing about this arrangement is it's considered a privilege for the children to get to be their own mother's buddy.
It's my buddy until it's weaned, and then from there it goes to the other buddy, whoever's turn it is to get a buddy.
I'm sorry, but you are the one that is choosing to have 1,000 children. Therefore, you and your husband should be the one to take care of them. But maybe that's just a bizarre way of thinking. Maybe I'm just batshit crazy here. 19 Kids and Counting, formerly 17 Kids and Counting and 18 Kids and Counting, is an American reality television series. As you guys can see here, it says it was on TLC for 7 years until its cancellation in 2015. The reason reason why this show was canceled is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So essentially, the Duggar family became famous for having a shit ton of kids that's names all begin with J and having really bizarre religious roles. They don't believe in birth control. Their children aren't allowed to date. They actually believe in courting and supervised quote unquote dates. They don't kiss until marriage. They don't hold hands. They actually have to side hug their siblings. They don't watch TV. All the girls have to wear skirts. All the boys wear blue jeans, even if they're running marathons. Can you imagine the chafing? They're homeschooled. And one of the really strange things is that they don't believe in dancing. There's literally like a quote from Jim Bob. I don't remember the exact words that he used, but he literally said that we don't believe in like moving our bodies. And one of the most just things is that when you watch this show, like the kids get on there and they talk about what they believe in and what they don't believe in and what they support, and it's like they're so brainwashed. They're literally word vomiting every single thing that their parents told them to believe and think and feel, and they don't even realize it. All of these kids are raised up in basically like a cult mentality. There is no nicer way to put it. It is a cult, but we'll talk about that in a different video. Right now, we're going to go ahead and head right into the star of this show. This here is Josh Duggar. He is the oldest out of the 19 children that Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar conceived and gave birth to. Well, Jim Bob didn't give birth to them, but you know what I'm saying. Joshua James Duggar was born on March 3rd, 1988. And on his Wikipedia, you can see he is a television personality. He is a political activist and accused sex offender. Josh Duggar was also really active in conservative politics. He also worked on the Republican presidential primary campaign of former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. I'm just joking. His name is Mike Huckabee. He had viewpoints which included opposition to abortion, to divorce, and to gay marriage. He was literally an anti-gay activist. On the show, he was really painted originally as like the, you know, really good big brother, the helping and loving big brother. And there's actually some episodes that, now knowing what we all know about him, are really cringy. Like there's an episode where he actually makes a joke about living in Arkansas and there being incest here.
Ginger was chosen as our chaperone, and then she had to be pulled off because the movie we were going to see had to be over 18. It was a preview screening of a good movie, and anyway, that's the reason why Ginger was not our chaperone. So we chose Jana and John David. We thought, why not have a double date? We are from Arkansas, no. We thought, why not have a double date? We are from Arkansas, no.
So if you guys don't know what Josh did, now hearing that comment, I can absolutely assure you that you are going to be beyond disturbed. Something that might come off like a silly little joke about Arkansas is all too big of a reality for Josh Duggar himself. In 2015, Josh Duggar was accused of SAing 5 minors, including his sisters. An Oprah Winfrey interview with some of the Duggars was in the planning stages when they received an email on December 7, 2006, which claimed that Josh had SA'd minors. The email also stated that the Duggars were not what they seemed to be and that they should know the truth before they made a complete fool out of their show by having them on it. Harpo alerted the Arkansas State Police CA hotline, and the Springdale Police Department received a copy of the email at 9 a.m. on December 12, 2006, according to the police report. So normally I wouldn't blast who the victims are, but because there are actual interviews that I'm going to be showing you guys with some of the victims, the youngest was 5 years old. Now, at the time that Josh did this, it was between 2002 and 2003, and he was 14 and 15 years old at the time. At the time, Jim Bob had refused to allow police to interview Josh when they opened a felony investigation in 2006. Although they had refused to let them interview Josh, Jim Bob and Michelle were interviewed by the Springdale Police Department on December 12, 2006. Jim Bob told police that in July of 2002 that Josh admitted to SAing a minor while she slept. Jim Bob said that they disciplined Josh after the incident, but that the family did not alert authorities. Basically, what we learned from this is that Jim Bob and Michelle had no intention of reporting the SA done by their oldest son, Josh, unless people had found out about it. Josh had approached his dad to confess him doing this on multiple occasions. As we can see in the police reports that I'm not going to show on camera the reports because the victims have said that they never wanted it to be public. So I'm trying to be as respectful to them as possible to just not show it in my video. It is public. You can go and search it for yourself, but just keep in mind it's very, very, very disturbing as it explains in detail the things that he had done. And when I read it, I was completely disgusted and repulsed. I couldn't believe that he even approached his parents one time saying what he had done and that they allowed him to continue to be around these children. And not only did they continue to let him to be around his sisters after he confessed to doing this to them, but he let them be around them alone. There were instances where he essayed them while they were sleeping, and then he essayed them while they were outside at one point. Like, there were multiple times this happened. The fact that Jim Bob and Michelle knew this, knew it was a reoccurring theme, and didn't get him proper treatment for it is absolutely repulsive. They told the police that they sent him away to a faith-based program that consisted of hard physical work and counseling, which was literally just him building a house. This was not a treatment center for, you know, children who have these issues that Josh clearly had. Instead, they sent him away to literally build a house with someone that was a family friend. He was there from March 17th until July 17th, which was 3 months. So for some reason, the Duggar family thought that sending their son that was essaying his own siblings away for 3 months to build things would somehow cure him of this really bad problem that he had. And then they let him come back and live with the victims. Well, it turns out that the police officer or state trooper, I believe they referred to him as, that they went and spoke to about the situation was actually also a family friend. Nothing was ever filed because the state trooper said that they sent Josh away to a treatment situation, and that's not even what it was. He was sent away with a family friend to build a house for 3 months. And also because the statute of limitations was up, it had been 3 years since it had occurred when the interview was conducted with the parents. He was just like, there's nothing that we could do. Couldn't possibly get any more shocking. The state trooper that the Duggars had spoken to about what Josh had done was Joseph T. Hutchins, the same man that in 2007 was charged and put in prison for possession of CP. This is exactly why I said at the beginning of this video that I was kind of like piecing some things together when I was doing research for this that was just like blowing my mind. Like, you expect me to believe that any of these adults aren't responsible for Josh being this way? Like, you expect me to believe that nothing ever occurred to Josh or that he was never exposed to certain things at a very young age to make him behave this way when literally your family friends are going to prison for the same thing? Megyn Kelly actually interviewed the victims. She also interviewed the parents.
What do we do with this information? And the girls, we talked to them, and they didn't know that anything had happened because they were asleep.
That is actually an incorrect statement from Jim Bob, because I read the interviews that is in the police report, which, like I said, I'm not going to post that in this video, but I read them last night, and some of the victims described what happened. So you can't say that they didn't remember. This is just incorrect. Like, there was one instance where they weren't sleeping and they were literally outside and he did this. They described what he did.
We watched him like all the time. I took him to work with me, and he just, I mean, we just poured our life into him.
Were you scared, like when you went to bed at night during...
That's another thing that's incredibly upsetting to me, is you poured your life into your son that just essayed your daughters. Why don't you pour your life into the victims of what your son did and send your son away to someone that could actually properly help him? And maybe if they had done that, then what I'm about to get to later on in this video wouldn't have happened. Maybe if they had gotten him proper treatment, he would actually have been helped before it got further.
Nothing ever happened like that again in the girls' bedrooms after that.
Okay.
That's another thing that's upsetting to me. Once someone essays someone else, you don't give them another opportunity to do it. That's the thing that's so frustrating to me, is the fact that he was ever even put back around them. You literally put him back in a situation where he could have done it again. You put your children at risk by allowing them to be around your son that didn't get proper treatment for this. So it's not this whole like grand thing like, oh, he didn't do it again. You gave him the opportunity to do it again.
Okay, so we had safeguards that protected them from that. But there was another incident where, 2 different incidents where girls were like laying on the couch, and he had touched like over the couch and actually touched the breast while they were asleep. And so, yeah, over the clothes.
Why is the fact that he did that over the clothes even mentioned? Essay is essay. Over the clothes, in the clothes, it doesn't make it better.
There was a couple more times that he came and told us what he had done.
There was a couple more times he came and told you guys what he had done. There should be, like I said, one time. One time is enough. Do you know why it happened multiple times? Because you put him back around your children. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar are 100% responsible for it happening to any of their daughters or the babysitter ever again.
Again, this was not or anything like that. This was like touching somebody over their clothes. There were a couple incidents where he touched them under their clothes, but it was like a few seconds, and then
I absolutely love how he says, which I bleeped it out because I can't put those words in my video, but I love how he says, it wasn't the R word or anything. It was over the clothes. I mean, there was a couple times it wasn't over the clothes, but it was over the clothes. It happened again and again and again. Like, where is your ability to realize your responsibility in protecting these children and completely and utterly, miserably failing at it?
And so at that point, we pulled Josh out of the home. And we knew of a man who mentored young men, and he really helped young men who had made unwise choices in their lives to get straightened out.
When you have a child that is doing what Josh did, you need a professional that is specifically trained in treating people who have that problem that he has. Not someone that mentors young boys in the Christian community or whatever religion they are. Did your daughters receive any sort of treatment or therapy for what they went through? Or did you just send Josh away to build a house and just pretend like this never happened?
I do want to speak up in his defense against people who are calling him or people are saying. I'm like, that is so overboard and a lie, really.
I think it's very, very interesting that you have Jessa here, who was one of the victims of Josh, that it's not true that he was a CM. That is exactly what he is. That is exactly, when you do that one time, you are a CM. Just because you were 14 or 15 years old when you did it, it doesn't change the fact that you are a CM. I'm not gonna like shame the victims or anything like that, but I think that even when you hear them speak, which is another reason why I want to do a video specifically on the Duggar family and not just Josh, when you hear them speak, you can hear the brainwashing that they've gone through, that they don't even know that they've gone through. They're victims of brainwashing. They themselves, as the victims, downplay it. It just shows the severity of what having the parents and the family dynamic that they have has done to their way of thinking, that they don't believe that him literally SAing them makes him a CM.
Like in Josh's case, he was a young boy in puberty and a little too curious about girls, and that got him into some trouble, and he made some bad choices. I
don't think that they had the ability to realize, because they were so sheltered in their family dynamic, that this isn't normal behaviors for young boys. 14, 15-year-old boys don't SA their younger siblings. And also, not to mention that the youngest victim was 5 years old. If you want to say that he was curious about girls, then wouldn't he be curious about girls his own age? Why was he doing this to a 5-year-old?
It's like you never think like this will happen to me or something. And in our case, you know, it's very mild compared to what happens to some.
I know
young
so many
women.
girls go through.
Oh my God. You know what's really strange to me is that they were doing this interview and they were trying to act like it was downplayed in comparison to what happens to some other people, but this is the same family that isn't even allowed to hold hands. They're not allowed to hug their brothers and sisters. They literally side hug. They don't kiss until they get married. But they're downplaying something that people who do hold hands, who do front hug, who do kiss before marriage are insanely affected by. And I'm not victim blaming the two of them. I think that this is a example of the brainwashing of their family dynamic. And also, you know, they probably do have this feeling at the moment that they film these interviews of needing to protect Josh.
I think for us, our situation is so different than most girls in that he was he's very subtle in the way, like he knew in his mind my actions are wrong and I have bad intentions, but he was very sly, like the girls didn't catch on, you know? It was like, okay, if he catches a girl sleeping, you know, like a quick feel or whatever. And, or like, you know, if you're just not really aware, you know, in the situations that happened when the girls were awake, it was like they weren't aware of what was happening. It was very subtle.
That is so disturbing to me that she just said that he was so sly about it. Like, we didn't know, like, basically, like, we're not as affected by it because he was really slick and knew what he was doing. Like, he basically knew how to do it in a way that he could get away with it. Now, I really wanted to show some of those interviews because it really does show how the daughters, the victims, they basically just kind of mirror some of the things that the parents say, and you can just heavily tell that they're influenced by them in the way that they speak. The fact that this whole family downplays this whole thing that occurred is the most bizarre and upsetting thing to me, especially, like I said, coming from a family like you can't even hold hands. So why are you acting like what happened here wasn't a big deal? And it's so weird because there was so much cover up and like protecting that was happening where they were trying to keep everything secret. They had TLC that was showing up and filming, and they were trying to like hide the fact that like Josh was sent away to this thing and trying to keep everything like very, very hush hush. And actually the Arkansas State Police said that a judge actually ordered that the police report that In Touch had posted be destroyed. Why would a judge order that unless you were a family friend? One of the reasons why I want to do a video just specifically on the Duggars is because they have really strange beliefs and they follow these really weird groups that I'm not going to get into in this video, but one of the groups and beliefs that they follow, they are full of a ton of booklets like on how to dress appropriately, how to be a wife to your husband, and they even have one on what to do if you get SA'd by a family member. In 2015, after all of this stuff came out, 19 Kids and Counting was canceled by TLC, but they came back with another Duggar show called Counting On, which heavily focused on some of the victims of Josh. So to me, it came off like TLC was like, how do we get away with still continuing to profit off of this family that's full of dark secrets and just awful things? How do we continue to profit off of them? Well, let's bring back the show with a new name and just not have Josh in it.
It wasn't right for him to let us speak our words without having the full knowledge of what he was hiding.
It's also important to note that in 2008 that Josh had married Anna, and we later find out that she was actually made aware. He had confessed to SAing his sisters and the babysitter to not only Anna, but also her parents prior to them dating, and her parents still approved of her being courted by him and of the marriage. And Anna still made the decision to marry him knowing what he had done. This is one of the reasons why I think religion in this sense can be so incredibly dangerous, is because people think that you can just pray situations away, or that God can just come and just cure everything and that he made right with God and blah blah blah. Do you know how many really awful people, Josh as a perfect example of that, use religion as a mask to make it appear as though they can just be saved and just move on, and that there's not these problems anymore, let's sweep it under the rug. And it's absolutely toxic. It's such an old way of thinking that I can't believe is still a thing in 2021. But apparently Anna and her family thought that even though he had done this multiple times and all he did was go and build a house, that God fixed him and he's all good now. He made right with God. He confessed. The reason why Josh confessed is because he's convinced that there's a God that is going to send him to hell if he doesn't. He had a moment of paranoia that he was going to bust hell wide open, and he's like, I better confess for this. But it doesn't change the fact that he has a severe problem and continue to act out on it numerous times. Like, once somebody has repeated behavior, they need actual help for that, and still may not even be helped. It's a severe mental illness for people to behave in the way that Josh did. The fact that there's all these people that rallied around him because of religion. That's literally all it is. It's because of religion, and they believe in forgiveness and blah, 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 blah. Like, I can't believe that her parents allowed her to marry him. And I can't believe that she even wanted to. Like, with the fact that they're so conservative and they're also weird about like sexual things and just the way that everybody acts, the fact that this was something something they were okay with. It doesn't make any sense to me. So now we need to talk about this website, Ashley Madison. Ashley Madison is essentially a website like a dating website, but it's basically for people that want to cheat on their significant others. In July of 2015, they actually leaked the records of people that were a part of the website and, you know, had literally paid money to be a part of this website to cheat on their significant others, to have affairs with random people that were aware that they were married. Like, that's what this whole website is for. It's for people that want to cheat. In 2015, like, all of this information was leaked on the internet. Lo and behold, guess who was on there? Yes, Josh Duggar. Josh Duggar was a paying member of Ashley Madison, the social networking site made to facilitate illicit extramarital affairs. He'd spent almost $1,000 on 2 different accounts between February 2013 and May 2015, including an affair guarantee fee of $250.
But it's such a blessing to know that when you give your heart to that person, that you're giving your whole heart and not giving bits and pieces.
Later in 2015, adult film star Danica Dillon came out stating that she had had 2 affairs with Josh Duggar, and things occurred that I can't even say in this video. Allegedly, according to Danica, it was a very violent, forceful experience.
Not only was it a betrayal against me, but it was also a betrayal for those that call themselves Christian, because here we were as a Christian couple. Everyone was able to see us get married and to vow before God to be loyal to each other, and that loyalty was broken.
So now, in the exact same year, it has come out that he, on multiple occasions, essayed 5 different victims. He also was on Ashley Madison, which was a website made to cheat on your significant other. And then later in the same year, an adult film actress is accusing him of violently, you guys can use your imagination with her. November of 2019, Josh's car dealership was actually raided. So I may not have mentioned this earlier, but the Duggar family actually owned a bunch of businesses, and one of the businesses that they owned was a car dealership. So there's one in Springdale. I've actually seen it because, like I told you guys in the beginning of this video, they live in my area. I know of this car dealership that got raided. I've seen it. And so it was raided in November of 2019. It was unclear what the FBI was actually searching for at the time. Josh Duggar has 6 children and 1 on the way. You might be thinking, did Anna leave him? No, she didn't leave him. She continued to have children with him even after all of these things occurred, because in their religion, they do not believe in divorce. I can't help but have sympathy for Anna, because she was also raised up in this brainwashing religion where you stand by your husband no matter what. But at the same time, I have some issues with the fact that they have all of these children with a man that has a severe problem. And I say has because it continues. It's not just what happened in 2015. This year, in April of 2021, Josh was arrested for CP. A federal grand jury in the Western District of Arkansas indicted Duggar, alleging that in 2019, he knowingly received images of children under the age of 12. TLC former star has been charged on 2 counts pertaining to CP. In the release, it is stated that the images that Josh got were some of the worst that they had seen in all of their years of doing this. They were from the ages of 18 months to 12 years old. The place that he had obtained these images and had been viewing them on was on the computer that was at his car dealership. Now, at this time, because of all of the things that had occurred with him, you know, cheating on his wife, and he came out saying he had a porn addiction that caused him to do all of this and blah, 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 blah. Because of all that, his wife, Anna, had this program on his computer that would track like the websites that he would go to and what he would do. But he actually used something that blocked the ability for them to be able to track him receiving these images. I can't help but wonder how someone would even learn how to do that. The fact that the state trooper that Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar had talked to about this years and years before is now in prison for CP. And now Josh was caught looking at CP at a car dealership. there is more to this story. There is so much more to this story, and I feel like there's so many things that are being hidden because everybody is apparently like all like tied together like this, and everybody's protecting each other. Like, they're so obsessed with none of this getting out to the public that we're completely forgetting that children are being affected by this. The fact that they care more, the Duggar family, and everybody that knew about this that didn't go to the authorities with it, cared more about this not getting out to the public and making the family look bad and blah 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 than they do about the children is incredibly upsetting. And I'm not trying to victim blame anybody that experienced anything that they did with Josh, but one of the things that is incredibly upsetting to me is that had this been taken care of at the very beginning appropriately, he probably wouldn't be married right now with 6 kids and 1 on the way. I'm absolutely terrified for his children. A source has told news outlets that not only did Anna Duggar accompany Josh when he turned himself in for these CP charges, that she's also stating that she is standing beside Josh through this entire thing and does not plan on getting a divorce. Anna Duggar herself has not made a statement. However, the rest of the Duggars have made statements on their social media saying that they do not condone what Josh has done, but Anna herself at this time has not made a statement. So all we're left with is an unknown source saying that she does not plan on getting divorced and that she plans on staying with Josh, and I can only hope that this is not true. I understand that when you grow up in the religion that you do, that you have some sort of brainwashing, but also if you're gonna pop out 1,000 fucking kids, your main priority should be to protect them. You should understand that divorce is okay if you're married to someone that is incredibly messed up like Josh. Like, the religion and the cult, really, that all of them are in is so incredibly dangerous because it perpetuates this idea that someone like Josh can be forgiven by God. Like, you're putting children in danger. You're literally giving birth to children that you knowingly has a dad that has a severe problem. Like, somebody needs to protect these children. And the thing that's really frustrating about this to me right now too is that Josh is actually out on bail right now. So he's not even in jail. He's out on bail and he has to wear an ankle monitor. He's not allowed to use the computer, but he can still see his children with supervised visits from Anna. So at this point in this situation, I feel like there's responsibility that is put on everybody that protected Josh. It's not just Josh doing these things that's the problem. It's the parents that protected him and allowed him to be put back in a situation where he did it on a repeated occasion. And it's also a responsibility on his wife who stayed with him and continued to have kids, because now in 2021, he's still looking at CP. He's looking at 18-month-olds when he had like babies. Every single adult that did not protect the children, shame on you. There are so many more things I could talk about. I could talk about this for so long. I have so many things to say, you guys. Like, this is just absolutely enraging. I could go on forever, but the video will be entirely too long. So definitely let me know if you guys want me to do a video on the Duggar family in general, because there were so many things that I actually wrote down so I wouldn't forget that was just so disturbing and weird to me. Things that I would like to talk about that I just don't have time to talk about. So I wanted to kind of heavily focus on what Josh did in this, and I am willing to put money on the fact that Josh was around some adults that was probably showing him things, I don't know, because the fact that he knew how to find CP, there's somebody else involved in this. Maybe it's the man that's in prison, but I cannot believe for a second that it's just Josh on his own doing it. There's too much protecting. But if you guys would like me to do a video on the Duggar family and to tell you guys all about them and their weird little cult family that they have, because it's incredibly messed up, if you guys would like me to do that, definitely let me know. And also, I'm hoping that I was able to keep ads on this video, but in the event that YouTube cut my ads off, because what I'm talking about is a very sensitive topic, please join my channel members. It's called More Kyeluh. I post vlogs and I post videos over there all the time. It absolutely helps support my content. It helps support me in continuing to make these videos, and this one may not have ads, so I would definitely appreciate your guys' support. And thank you guys so much to everybody that has joined so far. I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys with that. I hope you guys are having a lovely day, and I will see you guys very soon for another video. Bye guys.